When the sun comes up on America, across open fields, small towns, and city streets, a new day begins. And here, we rise with it. This is where hard work meets headlines, where truth matters, and America wakes up informed.
An interesting week.
They all are.
This is your country. This is your morning. This is Daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. America, let's do it together.
Love you, Ivy.
Love you too.
And it starts right now.
Welcome to a special edition of Daybreak in Washington, D.C. again today. Be here all week. A lot to cover for you, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche will be in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee today, and I would expect a typical partisan attacks from the left as he works to secure the AG job in the Trump administration. I will be in attendance. I'll give you a full report tomorrow. Number two, another night of intense bombing by the U.S. military is continuing to hammer the Iranian military, pounding scores of targets, and President Trump continues to push the military effort in Iran. And number three, yesterday, President Trump sat down with reporters while hosting the new Iraqi prime minister and laid out a roadmap that's making our enemies nervous and our allies eager to invest. We're talking real leverage in the world stage, from dealing with rogue regimes to unlocking massive economic opportunities for our people. And while all of that is tremendous, the president is building towards something even bigger. A major address to the nation on Thursday that could reshape the foundation of this republic potentially. But let's start with the pressing issues overseas, because a strong America abroad is what allows us to secure our democracy here at home. First, let's talk about the pressure we're putting on adversaries who have tested us for far too long. Take Iran, for example. For decades, weak leadership in Washington let them play games, fund terror, and threaten the world's energy supply. Well, not anymore. President Trump gave them every opportunity to come to the table and make a deal. He showed restraint where others might have rushed in, but when they chose aggression again instead, launching attacks and flaking on agreements, they made a fatal error. Enough is enough. Iran has been a problem for 47 years, and under this president, that era of weakness is over. Listen.
Give them a chance. I wanted to give them a chance at making a deal. You know, we had a deal 2 days ago. It was done. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't do it. They didn't like something about the deal. They couldn't do it. And they shot first. And that was a big mistake that they shot first, because we have been knocking the hell out of them. They're very difficult people. 47 years we put up with it. The SS Cole, you go back all the way. Thousands of people, thousands of Americans were killed. A lot of soldiers were killed. A lot of soldiers are walking around or not walking around. I mean, they've been so badly injured. The arms, the legs, the face, with the Soleimani, with the bomb. They call it the roadside bomb. Most people call it the roadside bomb. It's a disaster. And I killed him in my first administration. Had I not, it might be a different story today.
And following that decisive action, think about the ripple effects across the region. President Trump highlighted Iraq's enormous oil reserves and the strategic pipelines in development that would reroute energy flows away from vulnerable choke points. It's game-changing. It undercuts the leverage bad actors have held over global markets for years. By fostering these connections, we're not just talking about energy independence for America. We're building a Middle East where prosperity flows to our partners and isolation hits our foes. No other leader has delivered this kind of transformation. It's America first in action, securing our supplies, supporting allies, and reducing the ability of hostile nations to hold the world hostage. This is how you win without sending endless American troops into forever conflicts. Here's more.
But they have tremendous oil reserves. They have tremendous potential wealth, and they have tremendous wealth, not only potential. But he's done in a short period of time, he's changed that country so much, especially toward their thinking about the United States. And we have partnerships. Chris was just saying we have tremendous oil partnerships all of a sudden being formed over the last short period of time. And I guess you're going to be announcing them this week or next week. But massive, among the largest. So they have done a fantastic job over the last very short period of time.
And it's not just energy, my friends, it's economics on a grand scale. The president spoke about engagements with Gulf nations, that are set to pour tremendous investments right back into the United States. These aren't giveaways. These are deals that create real jobs, boost our industries, and strengthen alliances based on mutual respect and American dominance. And you can imagine it's making Iran shake in its boots. After years of America getting played in bad trade arrangements, Trump is flipping the script. Our economy gets the capital infusion, and workers see the benefits, and our position in the world grows even stronger. Listen.
And they said, we'd love to do it a different way. We'd love to invest in the United States with billions and billions of dollars and continue our record setting, because there's never been a time like this for the United States, with the factories, with the plants, with everything else. And we would like to invest tremendously in the United States as opposed to charging a fee. And I like that, actually, because I don't think anybody should be able to charge a fee for the straight or for any other straight relationship in terms of other sections of the world. I don't think anybody should be really in that position. But we were doing it as a reimbursement. The Gulf states are going to invest a tremendous amount of money into the United States, and that was very satisfactory to me. I think it's actually much better.
So he made a different deal. He calls it a better deal, much better. This is the art of the deal at the presidential level, practical, results-oriented, and always putting our citizens first. Imagine the factories humming, the infrastructure projects launching, all fueled by partnerships that respect our sovereignty. That is the Trump difference. On the Russia front, the conversation was equally strategic. There's momentum around sanctions legislation, and President Trump addressed it head-on, noting its origins and the potential to broaden its impact by including other threats like Iran and Hezbollah. This isn't about rushing into confrontation, but about using every tool in America's arsenal to protect our interests. The president again.
Sir, do you want this Russia sanctions bill signed within the next week or two, and will you sign it?
Well, I know that Lindsey wanted it very badly. I think they may be adding Iran to it. They're going to add Iran, which is a very big thing if they did that. They may add Hezbollah, too. Just put them if you do business with Hezbollah. So we're looking at that, but they're seriously thinking, and this is in honor of Lindsey. This was his thing. He wanted this more than any other thing, you know how he felt. And there's a good chance that it gets done, but they'd like to add Iran, and they'd like to add Hezbollah to it. That's what I'm hearing. So.
And if that means secondary sanctions on China, India,
Well, we'll have to look. That hasn't been discussed.
All right. Lindsey Graham and others push these ideas, and Trump is evaluating them through an America First lens, ensuring they don't tie our hands or drag us into unnecessary entanglements. It's clear-eyed realism. Apply pressure where it works, protect our people, and avoid the nation-building disasters of the past. Our adversaries need to know that America is resolute. Each of these points shows a president in command, balancing strength with opportunity, deterrence with deal-making. The contrast with previous administrations could not be starker. But the president knows the real battle for America and the soul of this country is right here at home. That's why we're looking forward to Thursday night's address. We'll talk more about that coming up. What is he going to discuss? What is he going to reveal? What are those on the inside going to try to prevent him from making public? Those are the real questions here on the table this morning. Good morning. This is Daybreak from Washington, D.C. I'll be back after this. All right, social media has been on fire, as have the headlines over the last few days because of an address coming up Thursday night. It was originally scheduled for Monday night. We were told it was pushed back out of respect for the death of Lindsey Graham. But the president expected to discuss election integrity, election fraud, potentially focusing on the state of Georgia. And there are rumors that it'll include claiming that both senators, both Democrat senators from the state of Georgia, are illegitimate. The president previewed it as massive news, but wouldn't say much more. Here he is.
Anticipating your big announcement on Thursday night regarding election machines and integrity, can you give us sort of a sneak peek about what to expect and tell the
Well,
audience?
I'd rather save it. It will concern that subject, and we'll have a couple of other things to
Why
say
should people
also.
watch, though?
But I'd rather save it, but it's really big news. It's really, really big news. And our country has to shape up. But that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday is it doesn't get bigger, because without free and fair elections, you don't have a country. We'll be discussing other things too, but it's going to be a very big announcement. Yeah.
Discussing other things too, you see, the concern here is that those behind the scenes are watering down what was going to be said. We're told that documents could be released, a whole treasure trove of documents. But let me just say this: without secure, trustworthy elections, we don't have a functioning republic. Everything else, border security, economic growth, international strength, rests on the will of the people being accurately reflected. Trump is preparing to lay it out, at least we hope so, joined by top intelligence and security officials. This isn't rumor or speculation. It's about transparency and restoring faith in the system that so many have lost. Thursday could be a turning point, forcing a national reckoning that puts election integrity front and center. Figures like Senator Ron Johnson are signaling they will spearhead hearings in Congress to examine the evidence in full detail. If foreign interference, which is being rumored, or systemic vulnerabilities overturn the will of the voters, accountability must follow, including potential removals from office where justified. Here's the senator.
We have to wait to see the evidence, but at a minimum, I'm happy to hold a hearing to lay this out in all its gory detail. The president will obviously take the time he's got, but a Senate hearing, I think, would be completely appropriate once we have that evidence as well. Listen, if Chuck Grassley, the Senate Judiciary, wants to do it, Chuck and I do, we've been involved in joint investigations in the past. We'll, I'm sure, work cooperatively in terms of, again, we have to see the evidence first before I really tell you what we're going to do. But no, this needs to be made public.
This needs to be made public. This would be Congress doing its job. Oversight with teeth, driven by the need to protect future elections. No more sweeping scandals under the rug. The American people have the right to know, and MAGA is demanding real reform, voter ID, same-day voting, paper trails, and an end to vulnerabilities that mail-in and unsecured systems obviously create, which is why they're illegal around the world. This is the civil rights fight of our generation, ensuring every legal vote counts, and illegal ones do not. And the technical evidence is damning. Forensic experts have documented how certain voting systems were accessed remotely during key elections, with connections traced to foreign locations in swing states. Listen to this official explain what he found.
Your testimony that there is evidence of Dominion remotely accessing Georgia election equipment?
Yes, on the one county. It was included with stuff that I was researching and reading through, considering Colorado. Michigan was also involved, and there were other ones.
To your understanding, is Dominion able to remotely connect to these election systems?
Yes.
Are they able to do that without detection?
Yes.
And are you aware of any instances in which that has occurred?
Yes.
Can you identify those instances?
One would be the Denver, Colorado server was granted, or requested to grant Belgrade, only Belgrade. I did search. There is a Belgrade, Montana. Again, why would Montana need to connect into a Colorado file transfer server as part of the election system?
Why would systems need such remote access in the first place? That's a question you have to ask. Why weren't safeguards in place to log every alteration? These aren't abstract tech questions. They strike at the foundation of self-governance. President Trump is committed to exposing this so we can fix it permanently. Patriots rose up in 2024 to elect him despite the obstacles, and now he's ensuring future generations inherit a secure republic. Thursday's announcement looms large as a moment of truth. Our country must shape up, confront the past, and secure our future. Without free and fair elections, nothing else matters. This is why we fight for our kids, our sovereignty, honestly, for the American dream. America first. You must stay vigilant, stay strong. The best is yet to come because Donald Trump is leading the charge, and we're going to find out what the charges are come Thursday. And that's the monologue. For 250 years, the promise of America has been the freedom to build something of your own. And for millions of families, that dream begins with owning a home. But in the blink of an eye, that American dream can turn into a nightmare. With some public information and a forged signature, criminals can legally transfer your home ownership into their name. And getting it back could take months, even years, and tens of thousands in legal fees just to reclaim what was already yours. That's why I trust the experts at Home Title Lock, 24/7 title monitoring, urgent alerts, and a 100% fraud restoration success rate. They fight for property owners and their loved ones against this growing crime. And to celebrate America's 250th birthday, they're giving our audience 25% off up to 2 years of fraud protection. That's over $100 in savings and peace of mind, plus a free title history report to ensure you're not already a victim. Use my promo code Gruber25 at HomeTitleLock.com. Get protected today. Do not become the next headline. That's HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code Gruber25. Save 25% right now because you're a member of this audience. It is sunrise in Washington, D.C. It's going to be a big day. 100 degrees on the forecast. Yikes. Not climate change, my friend, just Washington in the summer. I'll be right back. All right, here's a question for you. What happens when a doctor challenges the medical establishment? This past Monday, on Forgotten America, Stanford-trained physician Dr. Mary Talley Bowden joined us to share her extraordinary story. After treating thousands of COVID patients, she lost her hospital privileges, sued the FDA over its ivermectin messaging, and became one of the most talked about voices in the debate over medical freedom and government overreach. Was COVID just a public health crisis, or did it expose deeper questions about censorship, trust, and who gets to question the experts? It's a great conversation. You won't want to miss it. Just search Steve Gruber on YouTube. Subscribe for free. Join me and Ivy to hear the latest conversation. Here's a preview.
Well, medicine's become very centralized. It's pretty hard to be an independent doctor these days. That's part of it. There's so much financial incentives at stake to push these COVID shots, to push the medications they wanted to push. On top of that, we had massive censorship. You know, Biden had a program called the COVID-19 Community Corps, and it was $11.5 billion doled out to over 17,000 different groups and influencers and sports organizations and churches and community leaders, and to spread the safe and effective narrative. And he launched that program on April 1st, 2021, which was the exact same day Houston Methodist became the first in the country to mandate the shots. So it was very well organized and centralized, and individual doctors like myself really didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, doctors didn't even stand a chance. Again, catch it on YouTube. Just look up Steve Gruber on YouTube, become a subscriber for free. Glad to have you on board. Boy, I can't wait to get home to my Ghost Bed. I'll tell you that. Another night that was just okay, but not great. Ghost Bed, the American-made sleeping system. It'll help you sleep like a baby, like a stone. It's made in America, and you have 101 nights to check it out. We've been using it for about 4 or 5 months now. We love it, and when I'm on the road here, like I am in D.C., I honestly miss it. Ghostbed.com/Gruber. Promo code is Gruber. You will get the biggest savings of the year right now at Ghostbed. And again, if you don't like it, call them after a period of time. Say, come pick it up. You got 101 nights to make that decision. Ghostbed.com. Promo code is Gruber. I'll be right back. Another tough night in Iran as the United States military continued to pound targets throughout the nation. Most of them military, but now the president says that bridges and power plants could be in the crosshairs in the next few days if there's not a deal to be had. He says he's tired of making deals and having them renege on them within hours or a day or two. Asaf Romarowski is PhD Executive Director of Scholars for Peace in the Middle East, SPME. He joins me now. Asaf, nice to see you today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. President Trump also said he will not put a toll on the Strait of Hormuz because he says these nations in the Middle East are investing in the United States. What is your take on where we sit this morning as the war has clearly escalated back to where it was before the ceasefire?
Look, to my mind, the MOU was dead on arrival. I mean, I think that the Iranians have used deceit. They've used patterns of lying, for decades. And their model of behavior goes back to the Carter administration. And their biggest success story was, of course, the Obama administration, as far as trying to come to the negotiating table, try to squeeze us as much as possible for money, but yet continue to go on with their quest for the bomb. We have been extremely successful in this last round, during the Epic Fury and, at large with winning on the battlefield. But at the negotiating table, the Iranians continue to lie and, try to use this rouge of diplomacy. Fact of the matter is they also calculated, I think miscalculated, that American domestic policy as it relates to the upcoming midterm elections and the rising price of oil and gas, that would basically override or try to convince the Trump administration not to go back and not to escalate back into the war. This president doesn't operate that way. And I think that is an advantage as far as recreating military deterrence in the region. And let's not forget that every terrorist attack that we've had over the past 47 years has Iranian bloody footprints. And I think that there has to be consequences. Unfortunately, there are no short wars, and we're dealing with a very, nefarious actor that has a very clear objective, no matter what they say to the media.
To me, from where I sit, and a lot of people look at this and they consider this to be a religious war, a holy war, one that Iran will never give up until there's nobody left standing, which is sad for the 92 million people living in that country. The IRGC simply will continue to attack, launch drones, launch missiles at their Arab neighbors or at American sites or American warships, whatever it may be. How do you go to a negotiating table when you know the people on the other side are completely dishonest?
Well, that's the point. And to your actual, the critical point that you're raising here, which I think is sometimes forgotten, this is the heart at its core of the Shia-Sunni divide. I mean, the Shia belief here is that they are the hegemonic force in the region. And in order to establish that hegemony, they are going to reestablish themselves as the force in the region that will bring back an apocalyptic narrative, what they believe is the last Imam, the 12 Mahdi, and solidify Shia's role in the region at large. And so that's why they're willing to take whatever risk it takes in going after Sunni Arab countries to attack them, because they see them as enemies of the Shia, narrative at large. And so when they talk about what they're seeing today in a religious terminology, and also from the Muslim historical narrative, they see themselves as resurrecting the Persian Empire. And so this is, again, a dimension that's lost here when it comes to their commitment to the cause itself and what they're willing to do. And that's, by the way, how they've seen their quest for the nuclear bomb. And I think that, Iran understands, and in general, I think the Arab Muslim world, but also the Iranians, as far as where they are in their narrative, they understand strength, and we have to exercise power. But the negotiating table doesn't exercise that kind of power. By the way, even over the past few weeks, they've tried to rationalize why they need to resume their quest for the bomb, because they think that that's going to show how much power they do have, and they can't negotiate without exercising power. We need to read between the lines. We need to understand the terminology that Iran talks about. But I think that until they are dominated and until there is a clear understanding red lines, this is not going to end. And let's not forget, it's not only Iran as the country, which again, they've been willing to use and abuse their own people. It's also the proxies, which, when you talk about, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis.
All of those people, no question about it. Here's the concern for the Iranians. The president has decided to reimpose the blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. That will cost the Iranians billions of dollars. Countries like Iraq and others are putting oil out in another way by using pipelines, creating pipelines, and bypassing the Iranians. Do you see it? Do you see a financial leverage here that could hold them accountable?
Potentially. I mean, they've tried to make it economical, and they've tried to make it all about the Straits of Hormuz. The last blockade that happened, they lost about $435 million a day. And so they need, the Straits to work for them. Not to mention the fact that every time, that out of that 435 mil, you're talking about the fact that the IRGC was siphoning off its cut and paying its fighters. Now, the IRGC basically is in charge now. So it's money that they need to sponsor the activity in Lebanon, in Gaza, and in Yemen and other places, not to mention inside of inside of Iran itself. And so they're losing money. And if they don't drill, obviously, that it's going to sit. That's a problem as far as the Iranian economy. And the Iranian economy is crumbling. And so people are hurting. It's, the entire civilian infrastructure has been hurt. The entire economy has been hurt. There's a challenge of actual running water and basic needs inside of Iran. So, I mean, that's where you can hurt them, as far as the infrastructure itself, and push this along. But they have to understand, and this is, I think, the other part of this as well, that so long as this so-called ceasefire has been happening, they still have been getting rearmed by the Russians. They're still getting surveillance intelligence and technology from the Chinese.
Well, they were, but one of the key targets was that bridge in northeast Iran, which was the supply line bringing in additional weaponry and exporting oil. That has come to a stop. Real quickly, you got about 20 seconds here, Asaf. Will this still be going on a year from now?
It's hard to predict. I mean, I think that, there's a question of low level and high level as far as where we are, but I think that the Iranians are going to try to stretch this out as much as possible. So we may see low level warfare going on here, as far as targets. But I think until there's an entire change of regime and an establishment of clear red lines, unfortunately, we're going to be in this. It is the Middle East, and wars there don't end in months.
Asaf Romorovsky, really appreciate you being here today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, it is daybreak. I'll take a break and be right back. I want to talk about being prepared here a little bit today. We do this from time to time, but with everything going on in the world, being unprepared seems inexcusable to me. This is why I have trusted the wellness company for years, and the medical kits, I have them on my shelf. Why? Because you never know. Dr. James Thorpe is a doctor, chief of maternal and prenatal health at the wellness company, joining me now. Doctor, nice to see you this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Steve.
So, at the wellness company, you guys recently put out a study regarding the use of pre-prescribed medications in emergency medical kits, exactly like you do, and the findings might be surprising to a lot of viewers. First off, is it true that the overwhelming percentage of people who had used the kit reported they were happy with the outcome? I've used it. I'm happy with it. What about everybody else?
96% reported a positive outcome. And so, yeah, it's very favorably received. And the vast majority opened it within and used it within the span of a year, some within a span of a month.
That's remarkable. I used the first aid kit a couple of times now. I'm accident prone, doctor, I admit it, and I needed that. It's a great emergency kit, by the way, best I've ever seen. Is it true that the vast majority of people who use these medications in the emergency medical kits were able not only to be satisfied, but to avoid the emergency room or urgent care?
Absolutely. 86% of respondents, Steve, reported that they believed it was their belief that they, by using the emergency medical kit, avoided a trip to the emergency room or the urgent care or the hospital or the doctor's office. 86%. And Steve, I don't know if you've ever been up there in the emergency room, up there and where you live, or really in any other city, but it's a bloody disaster. Sometimes the wait times are 12 hours. Listen, we at the wellness company, we believe it's our ethical duty, our moral responsibility to bring a parallel healthcare system and these potentially life-saving medications bypassing the corrupt healthcare system and hospitals directly to the American people. That's our mission.
Early treatment. I mentioned this because there has been an outbreak of this parasite in Michigan. Explosive diarrhea. It's going all over the country now. I think it's in 20 different states. It apparently comes from fruits and vegetables. Nobody's quite clear of the exact source, but boy, that'd be something you want to get ahead of by having something at home, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, yes. Cyclosporidia sciatinensis, and it is really on the rise in the United States of America, especially Michigan. It seems to be coming from fresh produce, basil, lettuce, romaine lettuce, all kinds of fresh green vegetables. So yes, and it is treated, first line of treatment is right in your emergency medical kit from the wellness company. And that would be very important to have on hand. Septra DS taken twice a day for 7 days.
And I'm not going to tell anybody what they should eat or where they should eat, but I can tell you that federal investigators are looking at lettuce and at the fast food chain Taco Bell as a possible source for this outbreak. So the research continues. But if you have one of these medications at home, you can get started before you ever end up in the ER, right?
Absolutely. And this is important because these symptoms the pain can be very severe, not to be overly explicit on the air, explosive diarrhea, extreme cramping. And listen, it's been a well-founded gold principle of medicine for many, many millennia. The earlier you start the treatment, the better the outcome.
Absolutely true. Folks, I wouldn't be caught without these kits at home. I have, like I said, the first aid kit. I've got the travel kit. I've got the original green kit. All sorts of kits you can have available depending on your needs. Dr. Thorpe, always appreciate talking to you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on, Steve. Have a blessed day.
Really appreciate it, yeah. And I'm not accusing Taco Bell of anything. I'm just saying that's where the investigation has led the professionals so far. If you want to find out more about these kits so that you can have what you need available when you need it, go to twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. The promo code is Gruber. It'll save you 10%, and you'll be able to battle whatever comes along, this and anything else. Jack Smith lied. I know that's going to shock most of you, but Jack Smith, the special counsel, lied when he told Congress they weren't reading text messages or looking at people's phones. Well, guess what? They were. More than 40 members of Congress had their text messages viewed by former special counsel Jack Smith's team amid a probe into President Trump, a move Republicans say ran roughshod over the Constitution. And let me tell you something. They weren't just reading Republican text messages, they're reading everybody's text messages. Cory Booker, Democrat, New Jersey. Congressman Adam Smith, Democrat, Washington. Current ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee. Current Los Angeles mayor, former member of Congress, Karen Bass. Just some of the new names whose messages popped up and have been looked at. 44 lawmakers, both parties. Chuck Grassley, the man in charge of the committee himself, had his text messages looked at, along with Susan Collins of Maine, Tom Cotton of Arkansas, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Elise Stefanik of New York. I mean, the list is remarkable. They're rifling through everybody's private messages. And Jack Smith said they did not. When do we hold people accountable for lying to Congress? When you've got the facts, and you've got the names, and you've got the list, when do we hold people accountable and say, Jack, you lied outright? Any consequences? If I lied to Congress, there would be consequences. Why not Jack Smith? Why not any of these clowns? Drop me an email, stevegruber.com. Let me know your thoughts, stevegruber.com. I'll take a break and be right back. All right, so in Michigan, we have the rise of the socialist candidate, Abdul El Sayed. He is apparently leading in the polls to be the Democratic nominee to be the next U.S. Senator from Michigan. He doesn't like America much, but he likes socialism a lot. And I think to myself, well, how is that possible? Well, then I saw what they being the Democrats and others, called the moderate candidate in the race, Haley Stevens. And I saw her give her pitch to be the next senator from Michigan, and I thought to myself, well, maybe it makes sense that Abdul El Sayed is leading. Here's Haley Stevens' pitch to be the senator in Michigan.
I am going to be working on our behalf. I am going to be telling the stories on our behalf. And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way.
A little bit of stick it to them. It's remarkable she's in Congress. It's remarkable that she would think that she's Senate material. You know, I see some of these politicians and I just go, wow, that's really unimpressive. So maybe there's a reason Abdul El Sayed comes across as a better candidate, because maybe he can have a conversation without sounding like a fifth grader. Just throwing it out there. In the end, I don't think that El Sayed can win statewide in Michigan. I hope that that turns out to be true. I guess we will find out. But I mean, there's Haley Stevens. She is running neck and neck with El Sayed right now. Do Democrats want to choose that to go against Mike Rogers? He's the Republican on the glide path to the nomination in Michigan. Man, you got to ask yourself, don't you? It's going to be a hot day in D.C. Over 100 degrees today in the nation's capital. Not feels like, is over 100 degrees. It's going to be nice out there. I'll have more Daybreak after this.
America's awake, and we're just getting started. The headlines that matter, the stories they won't tell you, and the voices fighting to be heard. This is your country, your morning, your daybreak with Steve and Ivy Gruber. A new hour starts right now on Real America's Voice.
All right, welcome back to Daybreak as we continue the conversation here on a Wednesday. It's going to be a very hot Wednesday here, and we'll see what happens. Here are three big things to cover this hour. Standard time or daylight savings time? What do you prefer? Seems like daylight savings time could end up being permanent. A lot of folks don't like that idea. They say we need standard time, not daylight savings time. Meanwhile, Amy Coney Barrett recalls heartbreaking questions about her 12-year-old son when her house got swatted. Says he has a bulletproof vest because the threats against her and others have escalated. And number three, breaking news from CENTCOM. I'll just read this to you from CENTCOM on X. At 6 a.m. Eastern Time today, U.S. Central Command forces began launching a wave of strikes against Iran. The strikes are designed to further degrade military capabilities Iranian forces have used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So as the president said, the targeting of Iran is going to get serious, and it's going to get serious quickly. We'll keep you updated on that as more information becomes available. Meantime, I want to go back to Democratic socialists in general. I was talking about Abdul El-Sayed, the candidate leading the field to be the next Democrat senator, alleged Democrat senator, really. Not a Democrat. The next alleged Democrat senator from the state of Michigan. He says it's time to disarm police. Time to disarm police. Listen to this.
Do police really need to use guns? Do we need as much of a police force? And so if we ask ourselves about how we spend money in the public, where that money goes, where it comes from, we need to make a lot better decisions about investing in the things that root out poverty rather than investing in policing poverty. And we need to understand that these are racialized questions because of systemic racism. When we make a choice to invest in policing in a majority black community rather than to invest in public schools, that choice is influenced by systemic racism. And so we need to take that on, we need to root it out, and we need to be investing in people in the communities in which they live, learn, work, pray, and play, rather than be investing in policing them in those communities. And when we talk about the question of quote-unquote defunding the police, it's a question of asking, how do we right-size government away from the racist ideologies that have led us to investing in war materiel for policing rather than public health for children?
So having police in your neighborhood is racist. These same people want to get rid of prisons, by the way. They want to release all prisoners, defund the police. And it's interesting because Abdul El-Sayed has said he does not support defunding the police, but you heard it in his own words. And as I was talking about last hour, I wonder how a guy like this could be leading in the polls, but then I've got to play this for you again because then I see something like this and I kind of get an understanding. Here is his opponent, Haley Stevens, giving her pitch. Listen.
I am going to be working on our behalf. I am going to be telling the stories on our behalf. And you better believe I'm going to be doing it with a little bit of joy, a little bit of enthusiasm, a little bit of energy, and a little bit of stick it to them. Because that's the Michigan way.
Ah, boy. The Michigan way, acting like a fifth grader, I guess. Democrats have done Republicans a favor in a year that should favor Democrats heavily by running deeply flawed candidates. And look, it's not just the police, it's not just prisons, it's a lot more than that. These socialists, the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, are not democratic at all. They use that term as camouflage, make no mistake about it, because they don't want to just get rid of police and prisons. They want to get rid of the United States Senate and the Constitution. And if you think I'm kidding, listen to this.
We just don't see the point of the Senate. Historically, it was meant to serve very wealthy people who owned a lot of land. And that's still a system that we have today. And it's something we would change. We would expand what the House of Representatives does and make it more actually representative of people who live in this country.
So would you like to abolish the Senate?
That's part of our platform, and we don't think that's extreme. We think it's a change that would help make this country more democratic.
Getting rid of the United States Senate is not extreme. It would make us more democratic. How exactly would that work? Take away those 2 senators from each state and just make it the House of Representatives only, and chaos would ensue, that's for sure. Look, they hate this country. They hate what this country was built on. They hate the Constitution. They hate the president, of course. But they hate Democrats, too. So when Democrats embrace this chaos, they're inviting something far more dangerous. They're inviting something far more dangerous. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson says this rise in communism needs to be looked at. You cannot underestimate this threat. Here's the Speaker.
It's in their platform. They want to remove the carceral state, they said. No prisons. They don't want to fund the police. This is not a game. Everybody needs to understand. These crazy little mini Mamdanis who are popping up all around the country, they are a danger to you and your family. This is not a game. If they promise you free stuff, there is far more beneath those promises that even some of these people do not understand themselves. And so we are here as the Republican Party to stand on the founding principles of the greatest nation in the history of the world. It is our duty to do that. And we're doing it on behalf of all of you, even the journalists who don't agree with our policies all the time. You better agree on these principles, because it's what keeps you free. By the way, it's what keeps the press free, okay? This is essential for your well-being and your family. This is not a game. This is not our father's Democrat Party. We're not arguing over marginal tax rates anymore. We're arguing over whether or not freedom is going to survive. And that's why we're so serious about this.
Yeah, it's why they are so serious. We will not survive as a nation if these people are allowed anywhere near power, because they will destroy what has been built over 250 years. Do not underestimate this threat. Do not sit quietly. Stand up, be heard, and make damn sure you vote. 40% of Christians don't. 40% of gun owners don't. 40% of those that hunt and fish don't vote. That's inexcusable, my friends. Inexcusable. Now, many of you have struggled to lose weight. You lose it, you gain it back. But what if I told you it's not your fault? It's not point shakes or living at the gym. It's something that may be out of your control. It's not willpower, because if it was, it'd be done. What if I told you your metabolism isn't broken, it's just turned off? You can find out more right now with a program that I went through in 2018. GruberHealth.com. Book a free consultation with My Pure Health. See if it's a good fit. It's all natural. You eat real food. You don't have to exercise, but you get your metabolism turned back on, because basically it's a reset. You go back to factory settings. Does that make sense? I get the letters and the emails from you all the time, and right now it's 25% off. GruberHealth.com. Book that free consultation. See if it is a good fit for you. And maybe your clothes will fit better too. I did it. You can do this. I'll be right back on Daybreak. Well, those that want to take away your gun rights, they never rest. It doesn't matter how many times they lose at the Supreme Court or elsewhere. They just keep coming back and trying at different angles, different approaches. It's like rust on the side of your car. You can sand it down, you can paint over it, but rust never sleeps. Matt Osborne is a former CIA officer, and he is the United States Concealed Carry Association certified instructor. Matt, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Steve. Great to be on with you. Thanks so much.
Nice to see you, sir. Look, in the recent Supreme Court decisions, Wolford v. Lopez, the Hawaii firearms case, they threw out restrictive laws there. United States versus Hamani, you've got that happening. Plus, Donald Trump saying he's looking for reciprocity. If I drive from Michigan, my home, to Montana, I can drive all the way through and I'm legal, except I have to stop before I drive through Illinois, disarm, unload my firearm, lock it in a secure case. And then when I get to the Iowa border, I can take it back out and proceed on my way. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Reciprocity is an important right, and it's the way America generally works, isn't it?
It really is. We are facing a patchwork of laws in different states. I'm down in Texas, so if I went to come see you in Michigan, I'd have to make sure, let's avoid Illinois, let's avoid a couple other states. And at the USCCA, we have an app, a mobile app that talks about all the different state laws and reciprocity. But it still is very confusing, and law-abiding gun owners in the United States may unintentionally, inadvertently find themselves on the other side of the law just because they happen to cross some state border that they're not aware of. So we were very excited at the USCCA when we heard President Trump a number of weeks ago saying that his government, his administration was going to look into making concealed carry reciprocity, law across the United States. Mr. President, please do this. This is what we need because, Steve, as you just said, there's just way too much uncertainty, and those who want to take away American gun rights aren't going to stop. Fortunately, we have the Supreme Court who has had a couple big decisions. And if you saw coming up in next term, they said they may very well take on a couple of other cases. So we're very optimistic, but it's not the time for complacency, not the time for responsible gun owners to go to sleep.
Yeah, one of those laws would be concerning AR-15s, one of those cases, I should say, in front of the Supreme Court. As you look at that, to me, it's fairly cut and dried. Commonly used firearms, commonly used is the term that they rotate on or pivot on. I mean, to me, it's pretty straightforward. What are your thoughts?
Steve, I saw a statistic that there are more AR-15s out there than there are Ford F-150s. On a conservative number, 32 million out there. These are hunting weapons. These are self-defense weapons. These are common weapons. And the Supreme Court has announced, has highlighted that they likely are taking up cases dealing with restrictions placed in Connecticut and Cook County. So think Illinois, Cook County, Illinois, think Chicago. And this will be fascinating to see if the Supreme Court continues the trend we saw in this past session with Wolford versus Lopez, Hernani versus the U.S. that you just mentioned, Steve, and really says, no, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. We're going to watch it very closely at the USCCA. We think, again, things are going in the right direction. When you look at the Supreme Court, they had a big decision in 2008, a big decision in 2022. Now a couple in this past year. We really like the way that things are going, but you know that blue states are not going to stop trying to infringe upon the rights of lawful gun owners, are they? And we have to continue the fight.
They want to subvert people. You mentioned you were in Texas, and, anti-gunners will say, you don't need an AR-15 to hunt. Well, first of all, that's not what the Second Amendment is about. They weren't coming home from deer camp when they wrote the Second Amendment. Let's be clear about that. But if you're in Texas, you know the damage that can be done by feral hogs. That can be done all over the country. And people say, what would you use an AR-15 for? I would use them to hunt feral hogs because they usually come in bunches and you need to be able to do your work, if you will, efficiently. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter, isn't it?
So many in the anti-gun crowd try to paint the AR-15 as some lawless weapon, just some murderous, weapon that someone would use on a murderous spree. I saw some statistics that there are more people killed every year drowning in bathtubs and pools from lawnmowers these different types of crime, these different types of things that are not as deadly. The AR-15 is not as deadly as some of these others. The FBI doesn't even track some of the AR-15s that are used maliciously because it just doesn't factor in. I think the Supreme Court justices know that. I think Americans know that. And this will be something where if the Supreme Court takes this case, if they make the decision that we think they would, this will really solidify the AR-15 as a common weapon. And I hope that people really will take a look at what the AR-15 is and what it is not. And it is absolutely something that Americans use lawfully and safely for everything from hunting, from self-defense, and that law simply should not be infringed upon.
The United States Concealed Carry Association, I've been a member, so has my wife, for a number of years now. You give a lot of great instruction, but importantly, you point out to people that if you do use a handgun in self-defense and shoot someone, you're going to jail. I mean, make no mistake, you're going to jail until they sort out what the facts are. The USCCA has protection for that as well, don't they?
They do, and I'm a member as well. I'm about to renew for my 5th year. Thank you to you and your wife. We have over 875,000 members. These are law-abiding citizens, and these are citizens who realize to whom much is given, much is expected. If you choose to carry legally, the bar is very high. So we offer training on our website, uscca.com. We offer education. And as you said, we offer support to those who have to use their firearm in a legal and justified manner. We also train on de-escalation tactics, right? We train on everything. So we say the best gunfight is the one you're not in. However, you have a right to protect yourself. But even if you do everything correctly, as you just mentioned, you will find yourself locked up, and we're there to protect and support if needed.
USCCA.com, you can find out more at the United States Concealed Carry Association. Matt, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Greatly appreciate you. We'll take a break on Daybreak and be right back. Quick programming note for this Wednesday. The streaming of this program will conclude at 8 o'clock Eastern time this morning because I'm on my way over to the confirmation hearing for Todd Blanche. So the streaming of this program will conclude at 8 o'clock. That's not normal, but it's happening today. And I wanted to let you know so you're not left hanging out today, all right? Amy Coney Barrett says, they have required my children to think about and see things that children should not have to see or think about. She got swatted recently. A 911 call came in that there was a gunfire inside her house. There was a knock at the door. They opened the door. There were armed police everywhere. Her children opened the door. She's been given a bulletproof vest by her security detail. And I didn't know how to respond. She said, this is during testimony in front of Congress yesterday, because I maybe lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one. And of course, you remember Brett Kavanaugh had an armed assailant come to his house. The political violence is inexcusable in this country. Targeting people, whether you agree with them or not, that are on the Supreme Court or members of Congress or whatever it might be. That is what the rhetoric has brought us here in this country in 2026. And it needs to stop. As America celebrates our 250th anniversary, that's 250 years of the American dream. And I've got something for you today. If your American dream is owning a home, you need a bank that shares your values. Old Glory Bank's home loans team does things differently. No runaround, no hidden fees, no bouncing between departments at every step. You get a single loan expert guiding you from start to finish, one you can call directly when you need to, one that gives you honest, straightforward guidance without unnecessary fees and delays. Right now, they're celebrating America's birthday with you with a $250 lender credit on eligible loans when you close on your home by August the 31st. Get started with a bank that cares about you and the American dream. Get started at oldglorybank.com/RAV. That's oldglorybank.com/RAV. This is Daybreak. Don't forget to send me emails. What do you think? Daylight savings time or Eastern Standard Time? What do you prefer and why? Go to stevegruber.com and let me know your thoughts. I'll be right back. We're going to tell you stories here in this program that the mainstream media just simply will not touch. And I don't know why. Maybe they want to deny the truth. We don't. We're going to tell you difficult stories here sometimes. Johnny Skinner says he wasn't born in the wrong body, but his doctors told him otherwise and put him on a path to transitioning that has created more problems than it ever would have solved. Johnny Skinner is a detransitioner, a patient advocate, and an IWF ambassador. Johnny, welcome to the program.
Hi, Steve. Thank you for having me on. And I just want to make a quick correction. I'm an ambassador for GenSpect, not IWF.
My mistake.
Yeah, it's okay. So many organizations in this space, it's easy to get them.
Let me talk about your experience. Share your experience. You were 13 years old. You had one visit, and before you know it, you're on hormone blockers, you're on estrogen. You said, I was just a gay guy who was confused about who I was and should have been allowed to grow up. Tell us your story.
Oh, yeah. So I was born into a very small town. I was born into a one red light town out in rural Michigan here of a population of about 2,500 people. And this was early in the 2000s. So the attitudes around gay people were still very, I wouldn't say they were very positive, especially in like the countryside out in Michigan. You know, it's a very different culture than like the big cities. So I grew up in a very homophobic area, and growing up, I was always like a gender nonconforming little boy. I was just very effeminate. I liked, musicals and princesses and things of that variety. It's a tale as old as time. But I had received a lot of bullying and negative feedback growing up regarding my effeminacy, which had led me to be very uncomfortable within myself. And it was when I was around 12 years old, I had discovered trans influencers online. Some of the feminine male beauty gurus I was following at the time had begun transitioning. And as they were describing their experiences and how they felt and what was driving some of them towards this in regards to their own experiences with homophobia, it seemed like a really appealing option to me. I had related to a lot of the things that they were discussing. And I had a tutor at the time who was born female, but she grew up as like, I guess what the term would be like a butch lesbian. Like she was a tomboy growing up and still displayed very, what I guess we would stereotypically call masculine qualities as she gotten older. And she was starting testosterone at the time of tutoring me. And this was around the 6th, 7th grade. And it was through her that I had gotten the referral to her doctors. She had given me this referral because she said, I can't tell you whether or not this will be a right decision for you, but these are the professionals and they'll be able to help you determine if this is going to be a right path for you or not.
And so they took you down that path. They took you down that path almost immediately, didn't they?
Yeah, very much so. I came out to my mom in February 2016 saying I think I might be transgender because I still wasn't sure. I had an appointment with a gender therapist on May 12th of 2016. And then she gave me a referral from that one appointment to an endocrinologist who I saw on July 15th of 2016.
So it was almost immediate. Here's the thing. They also did the thing to your mother that they do to a lot of the young people like yourself that I consider to be victims of the medical and psychological community. I mean, you're not the first detransitioner I've spoken to, but they said, would you rather have a live daughter or a dead son? They said this to your mother. Obviously, that puts tremendous pressure on this woman who loves you and wants what's best for you. I mean, I can only imagine the emotional crisis that created. That's a terrible thing to do to somebody.
I remember seeing her face change when they said that to her. It just, it was so traumatic. They went a step further in the endocrinology appointment because my mom, she was fine with me dressing however I want or like calling me by whatever name I wanted to go by. She didn't really care about that, but she didn't want me making permanent changes until I was an adult. And the endocrinologist's response was, well, if you're not a supportive home, we could always step in and find him one. And I remember when he
So
said
they
that.
hold on. They threatened to take you away from your mom altogether. Then I mean, that's a threat, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and he said it so nonchalantly, but I just remember seeing her face drop, and like she got this like distant look in her eye, and after
Sure.
that appointment I started hormone blockers for a few weeks because with testosterone they try to lower it before they introduce estrogen. So I was on estrogen by August of 2016 at 13 years old.
Let me ask you this, because again, we've had a number of detransitioners on this program, and I'll continue to do so because these stories are not told in the mainstream media. In fact, the folks we've had here said you become completely ostracized by the trans community. You're called homophobic and a whole bunch of other things by the trans community. Is what happened to you criminal by being basically pushed into this process at such a young age?
I feel like it's criminal because, you know, at that age, I did not have the maturity or the life experience to be able to be making these decisions. I mean, I was so young at that age. I couldn't, you know, I say I was gay in retrospect, of course, because now it's more obvious in retrospect. But at the time, I did not have the maturity to conceptualize myself as gay yet because I didn't have the life experience. So I believe that it is criminal. You know, looking back, I very much feel like I was stirred in this direction. They very much closed off any other potential ideas for treatment. They didn't try to explore anything else. It was like, you can do this, or if you don't transition as young as possible, you'll never pass and your life will be so miserable that most people commit suicide instead of facing that life. So it was essentially transition or die.
But the
were the
numbers,
options.
Johnny, the actual numbers on studies now show that those that do transition have a suicide rate just as high, if not higher, than those that do not. It just seems that you're deceived at every turn. Before I let you go here today, tell the folks where they can find your story, because I want this to be a cautionary tale again. That's why we have folks like you on the program to say, look, guys, don't just take one meeting and start doing radical things to your body because the outcome can be poor. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on GenSpec's YouTube channel and their social media pages, and I have my own X page. It's just Johnny Skinner, Jonni, and then Skinner, Skinner. And I post all of my links and my story clips on there. So you can find me on X and on GenSpec's social media accounts.
Appreciate you sharing the story. I think it's important for people to hear, especially parents who might be in this place where they're being pressured to do something that turns out to be a terrible idea. Johnny Skinner, thank you.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated. Criminal. He says it's criminal, and I would have to agree. I'll be right back on Daybreak. I started this hour going through some of the more crazy ideas being put forth by the socialists. They're not democratic socialists. They are socialists. They are communists by definition. Crazy ideas like defunding police, getting rid of prisons, eliminating the U.S. Senate, getting rid of the United States Constitution. And there are a lot of things to be concerned with there. But one of the bright spots that I continue to come back to are the people under 30 in this country, especially young men who are saying, you know what, I love this country. I'm sick and tired of it being run into the ground. And my next guest is one of the folks that is out there talking about how great America is. Brylan Hollihan is a best-selling author, political commentator, and a rising Gen Z voice. Brylan, welcome to the program.
Good morning, my friend. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Nice to have you here. I have a son that's just going into high school, and his group of friends are so conservative. It is remarkable. And so there are bright spots out there, aren't there?
There definitely are. And despite this dystopian narrative that's being painted by the Democrat Socialists of America, that it's cool to hate this country, it's cool to think capitalism is evil, and it's cool to push this lie that our nation's oppressive, there's a lot of people that actually know their history and paid attention in history class just past the gender pronouns to every single time that socialism has been tried, it's failed. And I'll tell you, our generation is going to stand as that one line of defense to make sure that it doesn't happen here.
You know, the problem is, Brylan, is that history is not taught the way it used to be. I ask people about the Great Leap Forward, people your age, and they don't even know what it is, that Mao killed 50 million of his own people in China. They don't know Chairman Stalin. They don't know about what happened, that more than 100 million people died on this planet because of socialism and communism. We're teaching garbage in school, and we're also teaching kids to hate America. How has Gen Z gotten past this?
So I think the first thing I say to parents when they come up and complain about the indoctrination in the schools is it's really simple. You can take the matters in your own hands. If you raise your kids right in the living room before they're indoctrinated in the classroom, America's problems would be solved almost overnight. But speaking about the curriculum and just what I've seen being in high school last year and college this year, it's disgusting, frankly. I'm from a red state. This is intentional. During the hippie movement, there was this push to put activists and teachers' clothing into higher education and these tenured professor roles. Now that's trickled down all the way to preschool indoctrination. Their goal is to replace government as our God. Their goal is to replace gratitude for America with guilt and to peddle this lie that socialism is just instant gratification. And Steve, in a world where we were raised where we can click a button on our phone and have something delivered to our door tomorrow, or click a button on our phone and have a car outside or food on the doorstep, they're trying to build socialism as a one-vote plan to fix everything. Everything's free. Don't ask any questions. It's all free. And as you pointed out, young men in this country are starting to ask some pretty tough questions. And just like COVID, when you ask questions, everything falls apart.
You know, the attacks on freedom have actually gotten the attention of people under 30, like you have pointed out. And when people are told that America is this terrible place, and then we see all these people come in from all over the world for the World Cup, and they say, my God, we were lied to about America. And that also has to get the attention of people in this country thinking, you know what? Maybe it is a pretty great place, because it is a pretty great place. Anybody who has traveled, I've had the good pleasure of traveling to numerous countries around the world, which just further reinforces my love for this country, which is why they come here by the millions, legally and illegally. And I think that the younger generation is seeing that. What can we do? Because a lot of parents don't have the ability to homeschool, as you suggested, Brylan. But what can we do? What can you do? What can people do to awake the young generation to say, look, if we lose this, we'll never get it back?
Yeah, the first thing is to stop rolling over. I think a lot of people say politics is uncomfortable, politics is dirty, I'm going to let somebody else fight that battle for me. And then the For You page, the classrooms, the public square, the churches are filled with the louder voices that might not necessarily be as anti-socialist as they need to be. And so I think pushovers, have caused the rise here. I think in education is the first step, and that might mean homeschooling. It might just mean conversations with your kids before they encounter some of this in their classroom. I took the month of May off and I backpacked to Europe with a bunch of my college buddies. And I was in Paris one morning boarding a subway. And this lady came up to me and she recognized my Southern accent and could immediately tell from my flag hat where I came from. And she looked at me and she said, I pray every single morning a prayer of thanks to God for America coming and saving this nation, or I would be speaking German right now. And I looked at her and just said, you have more gratitude for our country than some of the insane citizens that I encounter every day back home. because the week before that, I was debating on a college campus back in Alabama, and I had somebody get in line and debate and say that they prayed every morning for the demise of this country because we're so evil and we're so oppressive. Now, this person has heard nothing else other than that. They've just heard on their TikTok and on their classrooms and movies how bad America is. But when you get outside the borders and compare it to other nations, they're literally building rafts out of garbage to get into this country that's so evil.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie Kirk, clearly a big loss because he was somebody who motivated young people. And the extent of the loss probably hard to estimate. But how do we make sure? Look, I'm not as young as you, Brian, I'll admit it. But how do we make sure that we motivate the young people to vote and understand that voting for socialism is America's suicide pact? Last word to you.
Well, Charlie made it clear socialism is not compatible with Western civilization. And he did the hard work to lay that groundwork for us. Listen, I think if Charlie built a brand or a movement around itself, if it was the Charlie Kirk brand, it all would have dissolved after the horrible execution of my friend. Thankfully, he didn't. Thankfully, he built something bigger than himself, and he left a legacy bigger than himself. So now all across the country, there's millions of little Charlie Kirks picking up the mic and continuing the race exactly where he left off. He trained us, he prepared us, he built us for this moment to know that our number one enemy is big government. His little big government sucks stickers that he started out of his garage when he was in high school are really leaving the legacy to fight this fight today.
I agree. Rylan Hallahan also has a brand new book, folks. You can go check it out, Make America Talk Again. I believe it came out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
Rylan, congratulations on the new book. Thank you for being here. You can come back anytime.
Great to see you. I appreciate it.
Greatly appreciate you. Do the hard work and get those young people to vote. They can make all the difference in the world. Young people, as a percentage, vote lower than others, but they shouldn't. Don't let the socialists have, a free walk to the ballot box. I'll be right back on Daybreak after this. All right, time to check in on sports now with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Cody Bellinger's 2-run RBI single in the first inning gave the American League all the runs they needed, and the AL went on to beat the National League 4-0 last night at the 96th Major League Baseball All-Star Game at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. Bellinger, who plays for the New York Yankees, was named the game's MVP. Miguel Vargas of the Chicago White Sox had a solo home run in the 8th inning. 11 AL pitchers combined on a 3-hit shutout while striking out 15 National League batters. Spain defeated France 2-0 yesterday in Arlington, Texas, to advance to Sunday's World Cup final. Mikel Oyarzabal and Pedro Porro scored for the Spaniards, who will play either Argentina or England in Sunday's final in New Jersey. In the WNBA, there were just 2 games. Connecticut squeaked by Portland 90-87, and Washington thrashed Toronto 79-62. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock, thank you for that. A couple of programming notes. Ivy was not here with us this morning. She didn't feel particularly well. So, I give that terrific wife of mine a break. When she's not feeling well, we let her take a quick break, which we did today. Hopefully she'll be back tomorrow feeling better, bright and bouncy and all of that. Meanwhile, the program is going to conclude here on the streams in just a couple of minutes. I'm off to the confirmation hearings for Todd Blanche. So I'll be here in Washington covering that for you. A complete report on that tomorrow. And then, of course, tomorrow, President Trump hopefully dropping bombshells on voter integrity in America. We don't know what's going to be said. A lot of speculation out there. I'm not going to speculate, but I hope to see something impactful when it comes to securing elections in America. Meanwhile, you can become a subscriber. If you want to see Ivy more, this is an easy thing to do. Become a subscriber on YouTube. Go watch Forgotten America. Doom scroll it, watch it, binge watch it, whatever it takes. Forgotten America, the podcast with Ivy and I. It's on YouTube. You can become a subscriber for free. Smash that like button and become part of the team. We look for you there. And I'll see you tomorrow morning right here on Daybreak.